Welcome back to Operation Intel, a place for veterans to share their stories, their thoughts, and really their life stories with us. The thought behind Operation Intel is the fact that we lose on average 22 veterans a day to suicide. And I believe through conversation and talking to each other and really getting it out that we can lower that number. Today, I have another one of the guys I served with, and I'm really excited about this one too. Everybody that I've talked to, I was super excited to hear from. Lieutenant Hougnon, how have you been?
Dude, it's been fantastic. It is so good to catch up with you and see you again.
Same here. I know we've talked on and off for the last probably few years and stuff, but it's always good to hear voices again. And I know it's so weird because I think it was Macaluso who said it's just the voices, and he was really happy to hear that voice again. And it's true, when I hear somebody's voice that just brings back good memories to me, it's a good feeling.
Oh, so, man, it really is.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, and I don't even know this, give us an introduction to yourself. Tell us who you were before the military and what made you decide to join the military.
Okay.
And the dark side.
So I have what I would consider a typical story as far as why I wanted to join, and that was because of the family history. This is a family business. My dad was in. My mom was there from the beginning, but just as a spouse. But no, it was fantastic. He did 28 years. He was a commissioned Army engineer officer, which really influenced the direction of path. Because my brother made it into the Air Force Academy, so he went off to fly planes, and I got to go in the Army, which was great. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so having some of that background helped me figure out which path within the Army I wanted to choose.
Yeah, and then you went into well, you went into college. Where'd you go to college at?
Yeah, so funny you ask. So my brother and I went to high school right outside of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We grew up in the military. The first time we lived off base was actually after I was a freshman in high school. So we grew up in the DoD education system. Fort Bragg, North Carolina in the 90s did not have a very good education system. So I was even on the honor roll. My brother was a senior in high school. Not only did he get into the Air Force Academy, but they also put him into West Point. And they said, hey, you get to pick. And I thought that's what life was going to be like for me. And then we both moved that year. My brother went to the Air Force Academy, which is basically an Ivy League school, from one of the worst high schools in the country to top tier college. We went to, my dad was Corps of Engineer. So that position was downtown Chicago. There actually was a military base that offered housing. It was Great Lakes Naval Training Center, and we could have lived on base. But because my dad was a colonel, they said, hey, great, you get to live in the historical housing. Yeah, we don't have any heat, so you have to open your doors during the winter. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to work out in Chicago.
Oh, gosh.
So we landed in one of the suburbs, and the public high school was on USA Today's top 10 list.
Wow.
I had a very tough time. So my grades kind of suffered because my brother and I did not know how to study, because we just had to show up to class and we were already at the top of so that's what we were used to. The difference is my brother, when he had bad grades at the Air Force Academy, he was in academic probation. They punished him and made it really wet. I just had bad grades and got to deal with not getting into West Point or the Air Force Academy. It was so bad, the Naval Academy sent me a rejection letter. I didn't even apply.
So you got denied for something you didn't even apply for.
Yeah. So I got a postcard in the mail and it said, "Hey, we have a commissioning program. Why don't you come to our school?" And I said, "Sure, let me apply." So, New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico, where the aliens are.
Wow, that I did not know that. We would have I'm telling you, we would have had some really interesting conversations had I had known that years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, and yes, I did see aliens. It was actually a play. It was like the first semester I was there. It was great. Um,
Wow, I didn't know that that's where you had went to college. But
yeah,
yeah,
and
keep going.
it's got some unique things to it because on that postcard I got, it said we can commission you in 2 years out of high school. That's not normal. Our OTC is 4 years long.
Yeah.
I asked my dad, and he looks at me. He's like, "I don't know. I went to West Point. I don't know. Never heard of this. Just apply, see what they say."
Oh my gosh.
So
Well,
it
how
turns
did it
out,
end up for you? Did you like it?
oh yeah, so it was great because there's about at the time there were 7 military junior colleges. So I went to junior college. So what they do is they take
Okay.
those last 2 years of ROTC, and because you're in a military school, they front load it. So it's MS 1, 2, 3, 4 is how they do the cadet ranks. But
Yeah.
those second 2 years are really all you need. So if you did basic training and you enlisted in the military, you can skip the first 2 years of ROTC and just wait until your junior year.
Oh
They
wow.
also have a summer camp you can go to. It's not basic training. Drill sergeants are there, but so are buses, and you don't have to walk everywhere. And we had Sundays off.
Must be nice.
It was
Must be.
it was wild. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you go to this summer camp, and that counts as what you had to do was go to basic training and enlist and do all this other hard stuff. We
Yeah.
just replaced that with a summer camp. And then I did my first 2 years. So I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Colorado Army National Guard after my sophomore year before I was 19.
That I didn't know that that was even a thing, and you probably didn't either, to be honest with you.
No clue. Dad hadn't heard of it. Nothing. Had no
Wow.
idea. And so the way that that program works, you then have 36 months, 3 years, but 36 months, and then you have to get your bachelor's degree. And if you don't get your bachelor's degree, you give up your commission, you become an E5, and you still owe the Army your time.
Well, at least you get your NCO.
Yeah, yeah,
I
you
guess that's
start
a
out
good
with
thing.
an E5, but yeah, yeah, you're there. And yeah, so about 30 something months later, I got my finally finished with my degree.
Oh my gosh.
But I was in the Colorado Army National Guard while I was a junior and senior in college as a second lieutenant instead of either enlisted or as a cadet because I had fully completed wearing lieutenant bars in the guard. So as soon as I finished college, which was a, quite a bit later, it wasn't 2 years because I had to restart because my grades were terrible in junior college too. Then I was able to go active duty as a first lieutenant.
Well, if high speed was a thing, I think that you just won it. I
I don't know my records because it took me 5 years to go from second lieutenant to captain, and normally it's 4, and then they accelerated it to 3. So I'm actually kind of behind a lot of my peers, if you will. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know about high speed. Cool as hell. Yeah, it's neat, but it had some drawbacks at the beginning. So
Yeah. So then you were in the Colorado National Guard. How did you get to Riley? Because I think you came to us late, I believe, correct?
yep. So and by late, you're talking deployment cycles. So I
Yes.
finished my degree in December because I had to do all the summer classes and the winter semester in order to actually graduate within that 36-month period. I mean, I was at like 30 months. I was pushing it. Um, and so from there, I went to my engineer officer basic course at Fort Leonard Wood in February, and that took forever. And then eventually I got out of there in September or whatever. and went straight to Fort Riley. I remember it was a long weekend, but I don't remember which long weekend it was. And you guys had just gotten back from Hurricane Katrina and JRTC, if I
Okay.
remember right. And then I showed up. Oh, you mean to 72nd?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they stuck me in. They stuck me in the staff as in the S4 shop because as a
Okay.
second lieutenant or first lieutenant in my case, but as a brand new lieutenant out of the basic course, they don't put you straight in the line company because we're going to war, brother.
Yeah. See, I don't
So,
know any of this.
yeah, so they stick you in a staff job inside the battalion, but they put you on staff first because you guys had trained with your platoon leaders and platoon sergeants. You became a well-oiled machine, and they don't need a brand new second lieutenant coming and screwing it up.
Yeah, that was always my wonder. When it came to you, you came to us. What month? Do you remember what month you came over?
Oh, into 72nd?
No,
No, I don't.
I don't
I
remember
I
that.
know that it was the fall, and it was because I was in the S4 shop and I was in charge of putting all the trucks on the train, and we sent it all down to Beaumont because we were deploying right
Yeah.
away. And then that Christmas, everybody went on block leave, and all the trains came back and they canceled the deployment. And so it was sometime after that that we knew that we had about a year between when the deployment was canceled and when our next timeline was going to be. And that's when they started shuffling all the lieutenants around. Because then it was safe. We weren't going to hurt anybody at that point. We had time to get into the team and build the team. And the engineer regiment was going through this reorganization, and so it was Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie company when I first showed up, and then after the deployment was canceled, then they transitioned to the numbered companies, and the numbered companies are deployable as a company. And so 72nd Mac and 41st could go individually anywhere, pick them up, peace out. And that was actually the plan. But Colonel Tyson, our battalion commander, fought like hell and was able to get us to still deploy as a solid unit, even though each of the companies could have actually been piecemealed, which then later happened.
See, I did not know that. And there's so many different stories and different things that I did not know. Like that I had no clue about that they could deploy separately. I thought we were,
Yeah,
it was stuck to a battalion to where the whole battalion would have to go. But I didn't know that.
yeah, and that was part of all the numbers. So once we did that, our the way that mechanically it works, you have a unit identification code or a UIC, and the last two letters ended in alpha alpha. I think it was WAHCTAA. But once we went to AA, that meant that that organization can deploy. And when they transferred the numbers to from letters to numbers, and we went from Charlie to 72nd, that organization was immediately deployable all by itself as an organization.
You learn
And
something new
so
every day.
my 2011 deployment, which is another one of these things up here, uh, it was just the headquarters company and the forward support company, and I think they took one of the companies, and then we fell in to Iraq, and there were five other companies. We had one from the Wisconsin National Guard. We had one out of Hawaii. They were actually not even a combat engineer; they were a construction company. So we had a horizontal
Oh,
company and a vertical company. There were 9 companies under the one battalion commander headquarters in that
holy
deployment.
crap.
That's the piecemeal design that they came up with. It just so happened that we did it in between that canceled deployment and the real deployment.
Yeah, that I did not know that. See, and that's another reason why I'm loving doing this with you guys because there's so much that some of the stories I've forgotten, and some of them I don't even know. later on, I'll tell you, did you know that I have one for you that you probably did not know? Maybe you
There's a
did.
lot
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
remember.
Did you know that inside of Leonard's truck, did you know that there was a fourth person in there?
Honestly, I don't remember. So it was Sergeant Wright and Leonard.
Uh-huh, and Biggs. And then there was a civilian that they had just picked up.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Why? Just
I
like a random
guess he
Iraqi civilian type?
no, it was like some civilian contractor. He was in the vehicle.
Did he start the mission that way?
Nope, they picked him up.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I just learned that today and it blew my mind. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I get a lot of enjoyment with this, but you know, you got over to our company, or where we were at, and I. What was your first thought of coming over to us? Because I think we'd been there for a little while, so you're coming into an area where these guys have been together for a while. So it's almost like I don't even know how that would feel because I had it to where when I was going over, I had the guys to my left and the right that I knew very, very well. I had trained with and everything like that. I can't imagine going to some place where you may have known a couple people.
Yeah, and when you're up at battalion staff, I mean, we had the opportunity to meet the people working in motor pool Mondays, and then having been responsible for putting all the equipment on trains. But when I'm doing something like that, I really, unless I bonded with somebody once or twice or whatever, I don't really get to remember everybody. So I'd kind of interacted with some people, but you're right, I did not know any of the people. And then on top of that, when they did that reorganization, they came up with a field maintenance team, FMT team. So if you look at the MTO, or the modified table of organization elements, which tells you how many people and what ranks they are and what their responsibilities are, it's NCO led. It's just a small maintenance team. But again, Colonel Tyson, our battalion commander, was amazing. He said, "Hey, I've got some extra lieutenants. We're going to turn these into maintenance platoons across all the companies." And so there were a couple of us. They're like, "All right, well, you're the maintenance platoon leader now." So not
Yeah.
not only did I not know anybody, but we scraped all these people from the brigade support battalions and other parts of the First Brigade to create these um, maintenance platoons, which were really only authorized maintenance teams. But there's some shell gaming and black magic. I know some of the stuff now, but back then I was just like, I get to go do real stuff. So excited. And so part of it was, yeah, I didn't know anybody, and I knew that you guys had trained because like day one I showed up and I was like, "Hi, when do I get to be a platoon leader?" And he said, "Sit in the corner, shut up, we're going to Iraq." So having that opportunity to be part of a company and actually do cool things, I was really excited. And that's just one of the things that I probably learned a lot more then, but it's a skill that I've acquired over time. Just being able to go into an organization and just try to understand them, not necessarily change everything right away, and figure out how things work, and then maybe tweak some things. But in this case, we're creating an organization. We created the maintenance platoon. We grabbed all these people from throughout the rest of the brigade, and it was awesome. And I
Yeah.
died a little inside because I was like, I'm an engineer, I'm hardcore, and I'm the maintenance guy. But you know
But
what?
I
It
want
was
to tell you
good.
something though. Had it not been for, and I told Macaluso this, had it not been for you guys, we wouldn't have got out as quick as we did because I remember missions like on Christmas where we went out, came back. I know probably 4 and 5 times. That platoon right there was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Um, and they worked so hard to get you out and running. Anytime we had a problem, you guys were there to help us out. But I think before you went to the maintenance platoon, they had sent you out on a mission. And I still remember, yep, it was me, and we were in the Humvee, and it had
Okay.
the crow system. And it was
Okay.
me,
So this was
you.
just me having fun then. Because
What'd you
Crows came
say?
in a little while later. Crows came in a little while later, so this was just me having fun. Because I love having fun, and that was such a cool deployment. All right,
Yeah, we
we're
had
in a Humvee, the Crow.
yeah, so I remember it being me, you, Lieutenant Bolton, and I can't remember for the life of me who the driver was. Um, I can't remember, but I remember us going down Route Detroit, and Route Detroit for us um ended up being where the buffalo got hit. So I mean, it was active out there once you got further down,
Yeah.
but I remember engaging engaging with the crow, and I remember like it was yesterday. I looked over at you, and your eyes are about this big looking at the screen in front of me. If you don't know what the crow system is, the crow is like it has a 50 cal machine gun on top of the Humvee, and the guy in the back has a joystick and a
Mm-hmm.
TV screen in front of him, and you can shoot that 50 cal with that joystick and thermal and night vision. It's a really neat weapon system. But I thought it was just funny because I got to see your face when I just started lighting stuff up, and your eyes got about this big around when that Humvee started shaking. It was good. I remember.
That's awesome. Because I don't remember, but I mean, I'm all for it. It sounds like a cool story.
I
There's
I
so many.
actually that this right here is from that night.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
There's
So
so much that I just there's a lot of things I just do not remember.
yeah, it's same here. There's a lot of stuff that I can't remember, but then there's times where somebody will say something and it'll be like, I do remember that. So it's cool. So let me ask you this: was there a time in Iraq that you can remember that kind of made it all real for you? You know, um, because I know
So
with me, I know with me, it was the burkas when I first came in. It was like, wow, it's a culture shock. But then that first IED that went off, it was a lot to me. And did you have any moments like that?
yeah, and so fortunately, I have the fort. Mike Hish lives just down the road from me, where we live in Tennessee now, and we get to hang out on the porch and do things like this a lot. And he was telling me a story this weekend. I didn't realize it had a name. We'll get to the name at the end. So towards the beginning of the trip, right? So I was at that point I was a platoon leader. I was integrated. We'd gone to the National Training Center out in California. Lieutenant Bolton actually had appendicitis, so I actually got to be the second platoon leader for a couple weeks, and it was so much fun because I got to do all that cool engineer stuff, and then I went back to doing the maintenance stuff, which ended up being way better anyways because we had the NASCAR team and the tow trucks on hand, and it was so much fun. But clearly I really enjoy just doing things and just being present, having a good time. And so fast forward, we're in Iraq. We've done all of our training. We are everybody's a well-oiled machine. And so we go to Kuwait. Things are fun. We get up to Iraq, and there was just some problems getting our transportation to go from Anaconda, where we flew in from on a C-130 or C-17, and then we were going to convoy down to Warhorse, where we're living, and started. But we ran into a logistics problem. So Lieutenant Bolton walks into the aviation headquarters and scored us some helicopters, and so we actually flew down. And so we're still having fun, right? We just got there. We're having a good time. We're going out on missions. The buffalo got blown to hell. And then, so it's my job to get the buffalo. We got to go recover it. So we get that back, get it back to Warhorse, and then we got to take it from Warhorse up to Anaconda. And the fun part about this story is talking to Mike Hish last weekend, he had no clue what happened. So I've got this experience of making sure that the chains are tight to load a vehicle on a train. I'm trained at that station. I'm a go, right? So I've got all my experts around me. We've got all the guys that have done the recovery training. I'd never seen a HET in my life before. A HET is a heavy equipment trailer. It is designed to carry an M1 Abrams tank. It is massive. It's a trailer, but it's also massive. Buffalo, massive. You put it on this thing. It's easy to load. It's easy to offload. Great piece of equipment. So I've got a bunch. I'm surrounded by expert NCOs that have been around this. It's not their first time seeing it. We're still kind of new in the country. And I'm just like, okay, sure. It looks like a train car. We've got a buffalo on this giant trailer. You guys tied it down. I'm going to get my pipe. I'm going to go smack the chains and make sure they're tight. Cool. Chains are tight. And Sergeant Hartman was the platoon sergeant for the maintenance platoon. We just had this thing where we just did every other mission. That was just it, right? He went on one, I went on the next one. He went like it. It didn't really matter. It's just the way that it worked out. And so it was his turn to lead the convoy up to Anaconda. So I just stayed back. No big deal. It's just that was the way that we had it worked out. 3 or 4 turns into it, I'm hanging out in the operations center, the TOC, if you will, where the radio is. Just kind of hanging out. Just because we're still kind of getting in our groove because we've fallen into all these new vehicles we hadn't seen before. And we get a call. Said, yeah, we need recovery because the buffalo fell. Huh? What do you mean the buffalo fell? Well, the buffalo's not in the trailer anymore.
I remember this day.
And a couple of wreckers. Wreckers are tow trucks with cranes.
Yep.
Okay. Not sure what happened there. I checked the chains. They were good. They were tight. What happened, right?
Yeah.
So apparently that's where people just didn't know the rest of the story. They just knew the buffalo fell off. Well, on this trailer I had never seen before, with the chains were tight too. It's got a flat load floor, and it has cargo hooks you can flip up, like in the back of your car or SUV. And these aren't much stronger than that. They're only about a 1/2 inch thick.
Oh.
And it says cargo. That's what we tied it to.
Oh.
When the brigade safety officer came down to visit me, he was a civilian truck driver, OSHA type safety guy. He was not a standard Army thing. There were special programs where they just, hey, you're a captain, go to Iraq. Okay. Didn't necessarily teach him how to salute or any of that. He just like, hey, safety stuff, you're going to be a captain. So he came down. I was still lieutenant, and I was still afraid of captains at that point. And I'm just getting a lot of lessons learned by the truck driver safety guy who told me that when it said cargo, they were talking about pallets.
Oh.
So the cargo hook, I have a picture that is on a computer that doesn't exist anymore, but I took a picture because I was also the company safety officer. The cargo hook was shaped like this instead of like a rainbow.
Yeah.
Because it snapped off. And he pointed out there was a giant vehicle hold down point about 4 inches lower underneath the trailer where the metal is about 2 or 3 inches thick. And that's what you're supposed to tie vehicles down to. But that's just day one.
I remember that day. Actually, I have the pictures of the buffalo over on its side, and I'm not sure who is in the picture, but it's just laying there on its side. I might actually put it in the video for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
But yeah, it's so funny because we all have those stories that made it seem like it was real to them. You know what I mean? Um, and it's all different stories, but I remember that story like it was yesterday. Are are there any other stories that just you remember that really stand out to you as like a definitive moment in our deployment for you?
Oh yeah, day 2 and day 3.
Oh gosh.
So that was day 1, and this route that we drove on was generally pretty safe, usually not a lot of IED or insurgent activity, just because it just
Yeah.
typically wasn't. It was near a major thoroughfare that the locals used. You had to cross the Tigris River with it. So, I mean, it was generally a safe route. Well, the problem is when you drop a buffalo off of a trailer, you're going to stop traffic in both directions for several hours. We made everybody mad that day. The very next day on day 2, and this is where it got real. They put in a really nasty IED, and there was an infantry company that was going to redeploy a couple days later, and one of their Humvees got hit and it killed some soldiers, and that was my fault. I mean, it wasn't, but like that was the defining moment of my actions have real reactions. I need to
Yeah.
pay attention. This is crazy. And then the next day, day 3, we went down and burned everything to the ground. Had some dozers, some flamethrowers, and it was awesome. But
I
it was
I
oh,
I
defining for
think I remember dozers and stuff like that. What I don't I think I may remember the soldiers being but I'm not exactly sure. There are some things that I remember. There's some things that I don't. But I'm not sure if I remember that or not.
Yeah, so that was actually the reason why we went out with the dozers and the flamethrowers and set the entire field on fire, is because this company commander who was days away from rotating home lost soldiers.
That's that has to be the most awful, feeling in the world because see you've been in leadership um since day one where your decisions affect others more so than your enlisted soldier and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, we're the how old are you?
42?
Yeah, so we're not that far off when it comes to that, and I've talked to everybody, and they're like, we were kids when we were over there. It
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it's insane to me that, looking back on it and the way you think about things, you're still a kid when you're at war, which is absolutely, like I said, insane to me. Um,
Yeah, I would have
that's
been 24 or 25.
yeah. And then you did a second deployment. How many times have you been deployed? See, I don't know this. See,
This is
it
great.
keeps things from me.
Yeah, so, in that same deployment, I actually had 2 real jobs. So when you get promoted to captain, they move you out and they say you can't be a platoon leader anymore. So a brand new second lieutenant that just graduated from West Point, went through the basic course, showed up and said, "Hi, I'm lieutenant." And I don't remember his name, but "Hi, I'm lieutenant. I'm taking your job as the platoon leader." And I looked at him like, uh, "No, you're not. What are you doing here? Go back to staff."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that was real, and I had to go find myself a job. And I typically don't just take what people give me. I figure out a way to make things as best as they could. So we had a Navy lieutenant, which is an O3, same as an Army captain, who was the electronic warfare officer for the battalion. And it worked out that she was rotating out. And so I talked to our battalion XO, who was going to be my future boss, and said, "Hey, sir, uh, the Navy lieutenant's leaving the same time I'm getting promoted and coming up to staff, so I'm going to take her job doing a Navy function." And he said, mm, "Okay, explain." So I said, "I'm going to figure it out." So I wrote a letter to the Pentagon because that was part of the packet, because I was the first Army person. Didn't matter if it was enlisted or officer. I was the first one in the Army to do this Navy job. I had to write a letter to the G3 in the Pentagon Army to request permission to do this. I called down to Baghdad, where the electronic warfare school that they had set
Yeah.
up down there. I had coordinated through all the Navy folks and made it happen. And so I
That's interesting.
so that's how I got to do all the electronic warfare stuff. And then I convinced them to give me 3 of my Army guys, and I trained them. And so at the end of the tour, I'm actually more excited for them because the Navy doesn't hand out medals. I don't know if you know that about the Navy, but like the Army, they're like, "Oh, you're breathing, you're alive, congratulations, here's a medal."
Yeah.
The Navy does not do that. And so because I did that, the Navy gave me a Navy Commendation Medal. But I had 3 guys work for me, one for each company. The Navy Achievement Medal's got boat anchors and stars, and it looks cool, and it's green and orange. And I was able to get them the Navy Achievement Medals as well. And that part,
That
that's cool.
that is awesome. I again, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, so I got like this one here. I'm a plank owner because I was one of the first folks in Iraq doing that mission. So that's just one of the coins that's up there. Like, they have real cool stories, but that's like one of the medals I actually feel like I earned versus like the whole rest of the fruit salad that participation trophies. But there were some cool things that I actually did. So deployment 2, I went. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that occurred. Then I went 4 or 5 years later. Again, I got to pick my own job. So I'm at the captain school, which they changed from the advanced officer course to the captain's career course because somebody needed to get promoted. So it's the same school. And they came up with this trial program, and they said, "Hey, there's 40 of you that are going to graduate. We have 40 jobs at 40 locations. Why don't we let you guys fight it out and figure it out? Here's all the contact information." So I looked at the list and I said, "All right, I want to be a company commander and I want to go to combat. I do not want to do recruiting or school or anything weird like that. I want to go be a company commander in a line unit, and I want to go to combat." So I get on the list. There's about 6 or 7 different line units out of the list of 40. So that's pretty short. I call this one unit and they say, "Hey, yeah, we're going to be back from Afghanistan as soon as you show up." Nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
I called down to Hawaii and they're like, "We don't even know where the engineer captains are on the island. So you're going to go to division staff and sit there for 2 years." Nope, not doing that. Called up to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and said, "Hey, what's the story?" And they're like, "Oh, we're getting ready to go to Iraq. And we're going to have some company commander positions open up mid-tour, and you can be a company commander." I'm like, "Sold. Let's do that." And then I get an email from Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Oh.
They said, "Hey, we looked at the list. We saw your name. We really are interested in you." And I shut the door. 2 years later, I found out that Colonel Tyson, at that point, full colonel, was the brigade commander.
Oh, wow.
I wish I would have known that because, it wouldn't have been a combat deployment. It wouldn't have been in school, but I would have got to be a company commander working for Colonel Tyson again. And that would have been amazing.
I didn't even know that he got his full bird.
Yeah, no, he did. He went on to do some really cool things afterwards.
Did he?
Yeah. He's board member, I think, now for the Society of American Engineers or something like that. He's still involved.
I didn't get to talk to him too much, but the one thing that I do remember about him is now on my side, you might have a different experience with him because you obviously you knew him a little bit better, but it just seemed like he was very quiet, and it was just this very large guy, and how he got in the back seat of that Humvee comfortably is beyond me because
He rode in the front.
what'd you say?
He rode in the front.
Did he?
Yeah. DTC.
Oh yeah, TC. Yeah, that's still.
But
I
he
mean,
wouldn't
that
fit
is
in
a
the
big
back.
guy.
Yeah, he
It's
wouldn't
like,
fit in the back.
what'd you say?
No way. He would. There's no way he would fit in the back.
No, he big guy. I think he was. Well, I think he was as tall as going, and going was at least 6'3", maybe.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah, where were you the second deployment? What part of Iraq did you end up going to?
Oh, funny you asked. So the 326th Engineer Battalion out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, went to do route clearance in MNCI,
Where's
Multinational Corps Iraq North, which was our same exact footprint, doing the
really?
exact same mission in the exact same area.
I did not know that. So
Mhm.
you went to the same area again.
Oh yeah. Oh
Was it
yeah.
as bad the second time as it was the first time?
Mm-mm. Nope. Oh, and funny story. I was the forward support company commander.
This is why you didn't want to tell me this story. You're like, this is a good
Right.
story.
Yeah. So as a support company commander, and we were based out of the Air Force barracks in Balad. I don't know. Yeah. Air Force barracks on Balad is where we were based out of. And we drove all over Iraq. The roads were open. We were sharing the road. My company, which was the most traveled company because we drove all over the place. Yeah, we saw 2 IEDs in a year. I laughed when they happened because it was like on the opposite side of the interstate and little fire was following. It was hilarious. Like it was not the same place at all.
But you know what? I think that we were the start of something good there because I remember Operation Arrowhead Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. And this is very shocking to me because Bakuba was at that point in time was one of the hottest, if not the hottest place in Iraq during our deployment. And then they brought in extra troops to really do a surge into there. And
Mm-hmm.
then to hear that, you know, it had quieted down and it was not as bad. That actually makes me really happy to hear that because it our hard work didn't go for nothing.
Yeah, it was totally changed. The pucker factor was still there. You still prepped every day like you're going on a regular mission, but we were trained, we were ready, and thankfully didn't have to use anything. Because the thing that really sucked was the one time, like I remember vividly that I was on the trip that day. We were actually driving like to the north side of Iraq. It was like a all day trip. We were going up to build the base in Erbil. We were building that base, and IED hit on the opposite side of the interstate, Highway 1, and the 2 guys that were in the lead truck already had cabs. I'm like, can we at least get the rest of the guys? Like, come on, man. Why? Put a little star on that yet.
I, and that was only in a matter of just a couple years that it turned from that
Yeah,
to
2011, it was, I'm not going to say peaceful, but oh my goodness. Yeah,
totally different place.
it was insane. There were still some crazy things happened. We had it wasn't our base, but because I had welders and all this other stuff, there was a rocket attack. Rockets. You think mortars are bad? Well, man, rockets are terrible. It hit a base, and I got woken up in the middle of the night, and they're like, "Hey, we need some welders and people with torches, and we need your torches. You need to go down and start cutting this stuff up because it is nasty." And I made the mistake of not telling the platoon sergeant because I grabbed the first sergeant and then I went straight to the welder's room. So I was like, dude, get your shit and go. We got to go.
Yeah. God.
Because like they were sending a helicopter in right then to pick them up. It was that bad.
Wow. I, that just blows my mind that it was that much different than when we went. Because when we were there, I mean, it was almost an everyday thing. Uh,
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was crazy.
I remember, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but I remember sitting at the gate or at the outside on the volleyball court,
Mhm.
and there being I want to say a Blackhawk up where we first come out the gate,
Yeah.
the front gate,
Mhm.
and there was a unit on this side and there was a unit on this side, and they're firing at each other, blue on blue. It was at night, and then the helicopter started firing down in the middle at them to say, "Hey, this is blue on blue." And one of those idiots pointed the gun up at the helicopter and started shooting.
Wow, I don't remember that. That might
Oh
have been
yeah,
after
and
I
we
was
were
in
all looking out like, what in the world is going on out there? I mean, every day was something different. So,
there. Oh
uh,
yeah, that's wild.
so you've been deployed twice, and I just learned this as well. You're still in.
Yeah, so that was only 2011, these stories. So just a handful of years after we left. Oh, by the way, the one thing we did in 2011, um, yeah, they said, oh yeah, we're leaving. What do you mean? Like, I'm talking to the unit at Fort Bragg who's going to come replace us. Like, what do I tell them? They're like, oh, that we already told them that they're not going. You're leaving Iraq. Like, what do we do with all our stuff? You're going to drive your trucks to Kuwait. Huh? When? Soon. What do you mean soon? I don't know. But in the next 2 weeks, you're leaving. We packed up Anaconda and drove to Kuwait.
Oh,
And then all those cool trucks that we got, all the RGs, all the Buffaloes, all the trailers, all the theater provided equipment was the title. Drove down to Kuwait, which was actually given that the rest of the year was pretty calm. That was the biggest pucker factor mission because the president of the United States announced that we were leaving and there's only one road out.
yeah. Did anything happen during that?
No, because the infantry guys locked down every single intersection.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, it was, and I've talked to some of the people that were at the Alpha Palace in Baghdad doing all the planning, and they said it was just an absolute nightmare, and the plans had to change every day, and it was just insane, which is really cool being able to connect with people after the fact and staying in and all that. But yeah, it was, from my perspective, it was pretty wild because we actually went from Anaconda down to another place called Taji, which was in between Anaconda, Taji, and then Baghdad. And we were supposed to do like this phased thing where we just kind of hopped from base to base to base to base to base. And so, like, if you remember, they had internet plans you could buy. Well, actually, no, we had our own hijacked internet plan. In
Yep.
2011, they had internet that you could purchase for 1 week or 30 days. And so we're like, okay, we're going to be here for a month. So we bought like, that was the debate, right? Nothing else really mattered. Like, how much internet do I buy?
Yeah.
So we all bought the 30-day plans. We sent our laundry to the laundry machine because we didn't have laundry when we were closing the place down. And I'm just walking to chow with my first sergeant. The battalion commander walks up and says, "Hey, I got something for you." And I'm fumbling around trying to get my notepad out. And he's like, "You don't need to take notes. You're gonna remember this." I'm like, "Okay, pack your stuff. You're leaving tomorrow." Huh?
Hey, gosh.
We had guys that just turned their laundry in. Like, what?
What do we do?
What do we do?
Yeah.
And so, like, what's really wild is if you remember, if you re-enlisted in Iraq, you got like an extra bonus and it was all tax free. We did our mission brief to leave, to drive out of Iraq Then we held a re-enlistment ceremony for like 7 people, and it was really cool because it had all the trucks, all the guns were on it, and we did everybody individually. I didn't do a group because it was just way too cool to do it one at a time. And what
Yeah.
was really fun is everybody had like a different memory, so I did the oath at a different pace depending on who I was swearing in. It was so cool. It was so cool. But yeah, we did a mission brief. Like everybody was there. Battalion commander sitting there, making sure we were doing it right because it was important. I'm glad he was there. But yeah, I didn't make fun of him. But it was that important that like the battalion commander came to mission brief. Colonel Tyson never came to mission brief because it was just normal. But this was so important that even battalion commander and sergeant major came to our mission brief to drive. And then we went and did a reenlistment ceremony, got in our trucks, and we drove almost all the way down to the farthest checkpoint we could go, and then they controlled our departure the next day. And being the support company, we had one truck breakdown, like in the entrance gate, and we had our own recovery asset. So I'm like, dude, we can just put it on the trailer. But it was the maintenance platoon sergeant's truck, and he's like, no, I'm driving this truck out. And so we stayed up all night fixing the truck. And we drove every truck out of Iraq, and it was so cool.
That is neat that you were there when we left. That's really cool because not too many people got to see the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and then I left from there. I only had enough time to stick around Fort Campbell to do air assault school. And then from there, I went to be a recruiting company commander in East Texas. And so then the Army or the DoD or the administration, somebody had decided, yeah, we're going to downsize everybody. So October 1st, 2014 was my last day on active duty. October 2nd, 2014 was my first day as a reservist. There's a big mess that actually occurred. It wasn't that clean, but that's what my paperwork says now.
that's all that matters.
A few months later, I got into a unit. I fixed all the paperwork because there was a big mess. I was supposed to go do some cool stuff in Hawaii, but the Army figured out a way to mess that up. So I became a regular reservist in a regular unit. I show up, get my ID card back. It happened to be a medical processing weekend, so I was immediately deployable. And there's a website that's basically monster.com for reservists. And I'm talking to the unit. I'm like, oh, wait, what? I can sign up for a thing and deploy? And they're like, yeah, but it doesn't work. I'm like, all right. So Tuesday, I'm just sitting there filling out applications. And Wednesday, I get a call. Hey, thanks for giving us a call. We see your application, and you want to go to you want to come to our unit? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. Like, cool. You want to go to Kuwait? And like, yeah, I've been to Iraq. I can go to Kuwait. They're like, you sure? Because the last guy we brought on, we told him that, and he said he was going to do it. He showed up and he chickened out. I'm like, I just got back from Iraq. I think I'm good for Kuwait. I'll be all right.
Kuwait was nice.
Yeah. So I'm at a stage of my life where I'm in total reset mode. So it had been quite some time. So I'm just really kind of looking for a job. I needed money because my line has been, I'm not leaving until the Army kicks me out, because, they're like, hey, you doing 4, you doing 20, what are you doing? My line, stay until they kick me out, thinking 26, 28, like my dad, staying in forever, career guy. Here I am at 10-ish active duty years and no longer having a job. It was not fun. Yeah. So I get mobilized to go to Kuwait. Less than a year later, I'm in Kuwait. I'm loving it. I'm loving life. I asked the unit, I'm like, hey, can I stay longer? And they're like, what? You want to stay longer? Like, yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. So I spent from 2015 to 2022 in Kuwait.
I again did not know that. I knew you were in Kuwait, but I didn't know how long. That may be the world's longest deployment.
Well, yeah, I could keep going, but it was 4 years as a mobilized reservist doing orders back to back to back to back.
Yeah,
And then through networking, actually the first colonel that I worked for on the first job in 2015 hired me in 2019 as an Air Force civilian working in the military office at the embassy in Kuwait. And that was
that
it was so much fun.
yeah. The culture over there and what you get to see, because you got to go off base too, didn't you? Because I think I seen a couple
Yeah.
pictures of you. Was it? I could be wrong about this, but was it on a boat?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So in uniform, when I first showed up, when I first showed up, I I didn't really look into Kuwait too much. I was just like, it's a job, pays
Yeah,
well. I lived through Iraq. I can live through Kuwait. It's no big deal. And right before I got there, there was a truck that blew up a mosque. Didn't really phase me because that wasn't really abnormal to me.
yeah,
I didn't realize that Kuwait was a peaceful country. They're not at war. Everything's normal. And because you take the same plane in when you're going to Iraq, you fly into Kuwait City. I didn't know any of that. I was just riding in the plane trying to sleep. But you fly into the same airport. You go to the same area with the rocks and the porta potties and the endless boxes of water. You go there and you stand around for a couple hours and you get on the same bus and they give you the same spiel. Don't open the curtains. They're going to stop the convoy. That happens to everybody. That still happens. And then
wow,
you go down to the base and you got the same T walls, the same concertina wire, the same security guards. The food's the same. There's nothing telling me I'm not in Iraq right now.
yeah.
So I'm just enjoying life, hanging out on base. I had no clue. Buddy comes to me and says, "Hey, you want to go to Texas Roadhouse?" I look at him. I'm like, "What? What do you mean? How are we going to get to Texas Roadhouse? Are we going to like hop on a plane and go to Germany or something?" He's like, "No, dude. When you're on shift tonight, because I was working night shift. When you're on shift, Google it. There's one outside the gate." I'm like, "What are you talking about? There's
I
no
did.
Texas Roadhouse. There's no way." Turns out there's three. And that
Wow.
changed my Kuwait life because I'm like a couple months into this. I think I'm deploying, so like my duffel bag had brown t-shirts, socks, underwear, two civilian shirts, one pair of jeans.
The
Um,
essentials.
yeah, I was like, I'm going back to Iraq just without a gun.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I turned into a tour guide because I found out there was a city outside the base. And all I wanted to do was go to Texas Roadhouse and Cheesecake Factory and all those other places. So
They had all those places outside the gate.
there, oh my gosh, Kuwait's so rich. It is not the country south of Iraq. It's a miniature Dubai without alcohol.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that. I
and
had no clue. I,
nobody did. And that was my goal in life was to take as many people off base. So I got a 45 passenger bus with a 12-hour rental, and we went at 5 o'clock from the bus stop at the track every Saturday. Sunday was 9 a.m.
you I am speechless that they had all that outside of the gate, because all I remember
Mm-hmm.
about Kuwait was I remember the little Pizza Hut,
Mm-hmm.
the Subway,
It's all still there. All
and
of
a
it's
burger
still there.
and a
From
coffee place.
Green Bean.
There it is. Yeah. Wow. So you really enjoyed yourself over there in Kuwait then?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I didn't want to leave.
Gosh.
We were there
That
as civilians during COVID, and my wife really didn't like it, so that was why we left.
how how did how did you deal with it over there as far as COVID? Was it a lot different than over here?
Well, I didn't go to the United States, so I don't know what you did here, but I think so. Considering the fact that there was a 23-hour curfew for everybody in the country, if you were caught outside a curfew, You were arrested, thrown in jail, $30,000 US dollar fine. If you were a foreigner, you were I forgot the official word for being kicked out, deported. So yeah, pretty bad. And then
Wow.
there were a couple of neighborhoods that the Kuwait government decided were unclean, and so they barricaded them off and put concertina wire and trucked in rice and water.
Wow.
Families, everybody, like, I mean, not a neighborhood like with 20 houses in it, like huge areas. Um, you couldn't drive anywhere unless you had special permission from the state. And then I had a diplomatic immunity and a card, and we had done some extra things because we were working at the embassy. So those first couple weeks, I would be the only car on a road where normally think of New York City traffic. It was eerie.
Gosh. That was a really weird time, I know, over here. Um, it was just, I remember because I worked at Sleep Number at the time, and we were the one of the largest stores in the United States. And just one day, I looked across the parking lot, and it was just nothing.
Yeah.
And then that day, I just looked down and I was like, you know, this is bad. That's when it really that hit home to me when COVID had happened. Was that day when I just looked, and what I was used to was just cars everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just wasn't like that, and it was a scary time for sure. It was. So you spend that time in Kuwait, you come back here.
Yep. So now I'm a reservist. I'm not deployed. I promoted to lieutenant colonel 4 years ago.
Uh, that's why you kept it secret. Look at you. Congratulations. You know, I I've obviously thought a lot about you throughout the years, just because you were always one of those guys that thought about the soldiers first, and you don't you and Lieutenant Rector both you could talk to. And that's not saying that nobody else was, you know, good or anything like that, but you always put the soldiers first, and you still do. And that is incredible to hear that you've gotten there. Now all we got to do is get you to your full bird. I want to see that. Are you almost there?
First boards this December.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to be there for that if I
Yeah.
can.
Well, the promotion boards are done on paper. And this
Okay.
particular, the way they do it, the first one, that's for the people that are super rock stars. They only pick 10% of that cohort. I have no chance to get promoted to that one. My first regular look is the following year. And I purposely chose not to be a battalion commander in the reserve component. And so I didn't do that key developmental job. So that first one, something really bad has to happen in order for me to get picked up the first year. So maybe the third or the fourth or the fifth look.
That that is cool. I am so happy for you about that. And yeah, when that day comes, I would love to be there when you get promoted. I think that
If
that
it
would be a
happens,
really cool thing. I think that would be really cool.
yeah.
So let me ask you this: now that you're in, still, but is there a moment that you can look back on and you're like that sticks out to your mind in all your deployments? Because we have a lot of people watching this, and um is there any advice that you would give looking backwards now to maybe somebody that is just getting in the military, just from your personal experience?
Yeah. So I said it towards the beginning, and I actually was told it on my very first officer evaluation report as a second lieutenant. Because they ask you, hey, fill out some things that you think you did or want to do. Well, fill out what you want to do while you're here during the next year. And my very first battalion commander looked at what I wrote and he said, "You're missing one very important thing. You did not say you want to have fun." I mean, and so I wrote those two words in 20 something years ago, probably 23 years ago. Yeah, 23 years. I wrote those two words in 23 years ago, and that has been the thing that I spread, right? It's all just take it seriously, have a good time, enjoy it. That's why I'm still in.
You
I
just
love
enjoy it.
it, and I can still contribute. I love what I do, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I think that that is excellent advice, because I'll tell you, there is one thing about being in the military that sticks out to me, and fun was is the thing that sticks out to me. Yeah, we went through a lot of stuff when we were deployed, but that doesn't stick out to me as much as how much fun I had with the guys that I was around, the bonds that I built. I
Mhm.
mean, let's be honest, it stretches a lifetime, just like you and Hish. I mean, you guys have known each other for years. You guys, when I first started talking about doing this podcast, the guys that supported me were the guys that I was deployed with. And those are
Mhm.
the guys that I had so much fun with and just shared a portion of my life. They shared a portion of theirs, and I'll never forget them. So, what are you up to now? That I do want to hear this.
So when you're an Air Force civilian or any uh, government employee and you are overseas in an overseas assignment, because I was not deployed, I was in an overseas assignment, um, the government will find you a position when it is time for you to leave because you expire. And so it's set up for a couple different reasons. But think about if you were working uh for the U.S. government in Israel, and then all of a sudden there was an invasion or something, right?
Yeah.
Government's got to find you a job. So there's a mechanism out there. And so in my case, I started my career for the federal government in Kuwait, so I didn't have a place to go back to. So I signed up for this program because my wife said, "Hey, let's go." And I said, I really don't want to leave. So what's the slowest way to do something? Ask the government to do it for you.
Yeah.
So,
Hurry up and wait.
um, so I signed up for the program to have the government find me a job, and they said, "Okay, cool. There are a bunch of rules. One, you can't network and find your own job. Once you sign up for this, you're going to take whatever we give you. Two, it's somewhere in the 48 states. We're not going to send you to Alaska or Hawaii because that's considered outside the continental US. We're going to keep it in the lower 48. Three, when you get this job offer, you have 48 hours to let us know." A year goes by, I get the job offer. I had 48 hours, and they gave me two choices: accept the job or resign from the federal government. I had just started my career. I'm 3 years into it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn down this.
Yeah.
So they sent me to a place called Arnold Air Force Base in Tennessee.
Never heard of it.
Huh? So when my wife and I, before we were at that, when we were looking, our top three states that we would prefer to move to would be Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. I had no idea there was an Air Force base in Tennessee, and this place is amazing. I've got a great job. Um, I'm kind of that glue that sticks everything together. I'm greasing the wheels. I'm just doing my thing that I normally do.
Yeah.
I've got some different job titles, but they're all changing because the Air Force is doing this reorg. But I'm involved in some of those changes, and it's just a lot of fun. Because the base itself is a research, test, and development. So we have rocket sleds are out in New Mexico, but we own that. But we got rocket tunnels, we have wind tunnels. You can set a jet engine on a stand and run it for days on end.
Oh,
Because, well, somebody's got to find the red line, right? So you're talking like car RPM. Somebody's got to figure out where that line is. So they're testing all this stuff. So if
yeah.
you're developing a new engine, you got to get all the parameters for it. This place did stuff to send things to the moon, and they were part of Apollo and all that stuff. This base has been around for a long time.
Wow.
Huntsville, Alabama is not terribly far down the road, and that's where NASA's headquarters is. And there is a very good reason why all of these things are very closely in location to each other.
That,
And
go ahead.
yeah, yesterday in the news or sometime this week, um, President Trump just announced that U.S. Space Command is moving from Colorado Springs down to Huntsville, Alabama. Oddly enough, so in one of those gaps, I worked at Army Space and Missile Defense Command in Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado. That was fun.
You were all over the place, and I had no clue whatsoever. You
Yeah.
were full of surprises tonight. I'm telling you that. You surprised me with a couple of them. I'm just glad to hear that you're doing well. And I got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
We I believe that I'm sure you agree with me on this. We have a problem when it comes to the 22 a day. What message would you give to somebody that's out there struggling right now? Maybe they're watching this and um, maybe they deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, anything like that. Um, what's some advice that you would give to them?
That's a great question. It's a powerful question. So I guess really what I would say is that we all go through struggles in life. Somebody is there for you, um, whether it's a battle buddy or a random stranger. Call me, call somebody, talk to them. It will get better. If you're struggling, just try to connect with anybody. There's numbers out there you can call and all that, but there's also just lay people. You can talk to a pastor or anybody, talk to your neighbor. I've found that just talking to people changes a lot. Now I had a period of time where I was unemployed and couldn't pay my bills, and it was a struggle. And everybody kept telling me, "God's got a plan. Everything happens for a reason." I tell you what, getting told that sucks.
It
I
does.
hated that phrase. Um, and so hearing stuff like that doesn't help. But talking to somebody that's been through it, what you're doing, or can somehow relate, really, that's what I found to be most helpful. And there's resources all over the place.
Yeah. And you know, one thing I'll tell you is that I never thought that and maybe it was just me, but actually talking and reconnecting with people that you did deploy with and stuff like that, how much that would help out. And what I've found through this is I wanted to start this to help. And what I didn't realize is that going through this has also in return helped me. Me, which is it was very surprising to me, and that's what Sergeant Smith told me. He was like, yeah, I mean, it feels a lot better just talking to somebody that knows you and that you deployed with and that you have that connection with. But I like that. So, listen, thank you so much for everything you've done. And thank you for being one of the first people to say, hey, I want to be on this because you didn't have to. And I truly, truly appreciate the encouragement you've given me and the push and the drive that you gave me because that means more to me than what you possibly could know. So thank you. And it was great talking to you.
Uh, Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I really believe in what you're doing. This is a fantastic platform. Not only do we get to watch and hear the stories from the folks that we serve with, but there are other people out there that love hearing these things. And I think one of your first videos, this stuff is not going to be in a history book, and so being able to get out there and share that is amazing. And then the other thing that one of my passions is just we all went through very similar things. Everybody knows a little bit about all the different resources that are available out there. And I love collaborating with folks, making sure, especially if there's something that I can do, connecting people with the VA or different things that are out there. I talk about that stuff all the time at work, wherever. I've talked to 3 different people. I was standing in a fire pit. It was cold and I was wearing shorts, but cold in Tennessee is 65, by the way.
Must be nice. It's colder than hell up here.
So the fire pit was big enough to where I stood inside, and I figured out the guy next to me was in the Navy. And 5 minutes later, I'm giving him referral to the local county veteran service office to make sure that he got all the benefits that he probably needed. And I love talking to people about that and making sure that they have everything that they think they need, as long as they're comfortable and they're good. And you don't necessarily need to get pushed towards anything, but there's resources out there for everybody. And just trying to connect those dots and help people, because I'm not the smartest man in the world. I don't know everything, but having those conversations helps. And then somebody says, "Hey, I've got this weird thing. I need some assistance." I can at least point them in that direction. And I love doing that.
Yeah, and it just goes back to the person that you are, though, because you've done that since the very first time that I met you up until now. You have not changed one bit, and I
I
love
got a
that.
beard.
Yeah, yeah, buddy. Let me tell you, my gray beard's coming out.
Yeah. I got to shave mine off in a couple weeks because I got to put my uniform back on.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, you were allowed wearing a beard for a little while, weren't you?
Uh,
What?
Only in between drills.
Well, see, I thought that they had changed things to where you could have a little bit of a beard.
Fake
And maybe
news.
I'm wrong.
Fake
Maybe
news.
I'm wrong. Maybe you had to have a shaving profile. Maybe.
Oh, that's a whole story. They're changing everything. Oh,
You're like, that's a
that's a
different.
3 hour video.
I won't get you going down that route. Well, listen, thank you again for coming on here. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks up here at Right Pat.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. Thank you so
Good
much for
talk.
having me on.
Thank you.
Can't wait to